That's a
So
good
to
answer.
get you comfortable, hopefully.
Okay.
So could you give me your name and city of residence?
Neil Maurice King, Muncie, Indiana,
Did you grow up here in Muncie?
born and raised.
Born and raised? And so were you aware of BorgWarner then, since you grew up here in Muncie?
Yes, my dad worked there.
Okay. Could you tell me a little bit about his experience working there? Do you remember?
He worked in the kitchen when they first moved out there on Kilgore, from Seymour to Kilgore. And when I was a little child, that he invited me there around the cafeteria. And they gave me the money at the side where they pay. And I thought it was my money, but it wasn't. They just gave me the money to hand to the waiter or the waitress.
When did he work out there? Do you remember the years?
It was in the early or mid-70s.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. How many years, well, when did you start working at BorgWarner?
86.
Okay, and how many
19.
years did you work there?
23 years.
Now, did he help you get on over at BorgWarner?
No.
So how did you get on over there?
I was a shoe salesman in the Muncie Mall. And of course, the gentleman who worked at Human Resource, Bruce Roden, him and his wife came into the store at Connie Shoes, and I was a salesman there. And I told Bruce, I said, sir, I'm not going to bother you today about BorgWarner. He said, no, it was okay. And I said, are they hiring? Of course, I called him several times before then. So he recognized my voice, and he knew my dad at the time. And he said, no, they're not hiring. So at the end of that day, when the lady, his wife, purchased a pair of shoes, she told me over the counter, don't worry, I will talk to him for you. So I gave it within a week, and then I called back Human Resource, spoke with Bruce. I said, Bruce Roden, this is Neil King, how you doing? He said, I'm doing fine, Neil. I said, you remember me? He said, yes, I do. I said, and how's your wife doing? He said, she's doing fine. Come on in for an interview. I said, thank you very much.
And that's how you got on there?
That's how I got on, through his wife.
Okay, what department did you work in and what was your job there?
The department I worked in was called Heat Treat. We worked with castings of the cases for transmissions. It was pretty dirty in that department. Like once you go in, you can be in there for at least maybe 2 to 3 hours. At the end of the 7th hour, you come out really dirty. You have to take a shower or bath twice a night to get the black powder off of you.
Did that improve any while you worked there at all?
Yeah, when I upgraded out,
Yeah.
went into another department.
Yeah.
But it was the filthiest department of them all. And when you applied at that time for a job, you would really go to Gray Iron because that was considered the low department there, the worst department.
What other things did you do then?
I worked in almost every department. I worked in labor. I worked in assembly. I worked in what is called R2, F9, E3. Those are different departments that you worked in there, and I worked in all of them.
What would you say was your favorite?
The one that paid the most. Gray Iron was kind of the favorite because once you got your quota, anytime anything over, it was your money. You know, so other than that, assembly.
Do you like working with your hands?
Yes, that's basically you worked out there with your hands.
So you mentioned that it was dirty. Could you tell me a little bit more about the working environment at BorgWarner, like with the people and other types of things?
The people were like familiar. I knew a lot of the people that worked there. I went to school with some of the children. Some of the guys knew my dad, and plus I was in a union, and they kind of looked out for you at that time. It wasn't as strong as it was probably in the early 70s or the late 60s, but it was working well on my behalf. You know, when I needed them, they were there.
Okay, so you would say that you probably felt like you were part of a community?
Oh yes, once you got your time in and and work your way around. I mean, I was there when they had almost 2,100 people out there, and you knew them because, over the weekends when you went shopping, you seen the majority of them. A lot of people you saw at GM or changed to New Venture Gear, but mainly you saw BorgWarner people.
Okay. I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on minority issues, since you're an African American man, and I've heard women say that they had issues on the floor. Did you have any issues being African American working in that environment?
No, not really. Some of the supervisors did some, stupid things, but I don't know if it was based on race or something. The women may have had it different, but it changed, it evolved, from where it was back in the 70s of even hiring the women to work there, especially black women, and the union helped out a lot as well.
Did your dad have trouble getting on out there?
Yes, because when he was working in the cafeteria, he was trying to work on the floor. Well, my dad come from the upbringing of working for his mother, never going to school. So he couldn't read or write that well or that good. And when it was come to his attention that he had to read a mic, which was to gauge a gear, he couldn't read the mic. So they let him go. And that's when Bruce Roden let him go, and that's when the union, picked him up because he did such a great work out there.
Okay.
And he worked there for over almost 40 years.
And he retired, I think.
Retired, yes.
You mentioned that you were involved in the union, and how were you involved, and what sort of activities did you do to partner?
I was involved because I was working there. I attended the union meetings, and they may have had different things that they had bowling leagues, other programs that I really wasn't involved in such, basketball and things like that. I was really working, at the time.
So did you do any of the strikes or anything?
You had to.
Oh, okay.
You had to do the strikes.
Why so?
Well, in order to get paid.
Oh.
You just, if they called a strike, everyone had to strike. You just couldn't say, I'm not going to work. No, it was still part of the work there. You didn't get paid much. I'm trying to recall, you got paid a week or something, $50, $100, something like that a week. And that was it, But I enjoyed that too, because you met a lot of people when they're not working in the plant and how they feel and react to what's going on with the people who are negotiating our contract.
So did you kind of feel a sense of solidarity with them? Did
Yes.
you really kind of believe in what they were doing?
Oh yes, people toot the horn in the community. They made coffee and things, sandwiches, and you sit out there. It was kind of chilly at night, and people brought wood, and I had a wood burner at the time at the house, and I brought wood there, and I felt comfortable. I walked around, up and down where the plant area was, and held signs for solidarity.
Great. What was the best part about working for BorgWarner?
Getting paid.
That's it?
Yeah, well, getting paid, doing your job, and know that you worked well to get paid that amount of money that was put out for you to do. We got paid pretty well, and I enjoyed the work. I heard people complaining about not working, didn't want to work anymore, tired of working. They've been there years. But with me, I was thankful. I was so grateful that I worked, and I went to work. I come in there clean and try to leave out there clean.
Did you take a lot of pride in your work?
I took a lot of pride in my work and I myself.
Mm-hmm. What aspects were difficult?
I had none.
You have them?
No, nothing that was difficult, because when I went there, I could complain of minute things, but when I went there, I got there early. I saved my job. I had to clock in at 3:30. Well, I come in like maybe 2:45 and look at my area and see how messy it was, and start cleaning up that area before I clock in. Set my machine up, know how many pieces I had to run, and sometimes run through my breaks where I'm done early. So I really didn't have any complaints at all, you know.
Oh, great. Would you say that the company was a good place to work for families? Did it support and encourage family life?
For the family in Muncie, yes. Every family that worked there, I mean, it supported, you know, a good health program, and like I said, it paid well. Depending on what department you worked in, you know, you still had an incentive where you worked at, or you could just get paid straight out, you know. Like I said, you can work over, or the overtime was well. Had plenty of overtime if you wanted to do it, you know. Had no complaint about what they gave me, you know. My absentee problem was limited. I went to work many days and every day as I could.
That's nice.
Yeah, didn't like missing a day at all. And if I missed a day, I made it up.
Right.
I made it up.
Yeah. I've heard that BorgWarner was very active in the community. Did the company encourage participation in these sorts of activities? And if so, did you take part in them?
I think that was the question earlier in between that. The family and I, when they did, we were involved, but not behind the table, you know, in front of being part of inviting others to what their gathering consisted of. You know, we were there wearing our BorgWarner shirt or our tag or, you know, insignia or something.
Did you do anything like Toys for Tots or blood drives or anything like that?
No, but I knew it existed.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to pause it.
Okay. All right. Did you spend time with your coworkers outside of the factory? And if so, what sorts of activities did you do? And if not, why?
In my early days, I did. We used to play basketball together. When I worked on the midnight shift, when we got off at 7:30, we used to go to the gym, and I believe in Gaston, and play basketball. Or then on the day shift, we would get off at 3 and go to the gym.
So what changed?
The shifts. Sometimes the shifts changed and the people changed. Some of them used to go, didn't go anymore, you know. And I couldn't play basketball anymore because the group only went on from midnight shift, and I couldn't do it on any other shift. You know, certain shift I could do certain things with the people that were there at that time.
Did you enjoy that?
Oh, in the gym, still do now.
Yeah.
I still go now. I see very few there. Wish they were there more often. You know, so, but I really enjoyed myself with them. You know.
I've heard that at some point there was a shift from hiring management from within Muncie to bringing in people from other locations. How did you feel about this?
I thought it was wrong. There was a lot of people not only who worked inside the company to work or move higher in the company. There was people on the floor, you know, who had that skill. You had Frankie Scott. You know, he worked on the floor. He was with the union, and he could have worked in the company. He worked at the company as well, company man as well. So, but to bring outsourcing in, you know, people, the union kind of looked down on that. Union was more the watchdog. Who came in, what came in, who left, and what left with them. You know, if they try to infiltrate, you know, saying that they worked there or they didn't work there, that was the union's job. The people who work there to identify people who don't belong inside the plant and who does not help for our benefit.
Did you feel like it limited you in your working environment?
I could have been a part of us shutting down. Could have been a part of a lot of arguments there. Even with the union, we don't know, one minute you think they're doing well and they might be in it for the money too, and forget about the people who they're supposed to be working for.
How did you feel when it was announced that BorgWarner would close?
Well, I didn't know it. It was, let me see, what month was it? September, I believe. September the 14th or October the 13th, 2007. we came in that Wednesday, the afternoon shift. And next thing we knew that was the last day. No warning at all. They just said they're closing down.
So you weren't one of those that stayed on until it?
I didn't have that much time in, you know. If I only had 23 years. If there were individuals who had, 27, 28 around that time, then they could stay, probably. Because they had points also. That if they left or did something and the points had to add up.
So yeah, that must have been a very great shock, just go in and like, we're closing.
Yeah, it kind of hurt. You had to reorganize yourself, revitalize yourself, and look for another job.
What was I gonna say? What was going through your mind at the time on that day?
Work,
Yeah.
trying to find work where to go because who would take you? You've been working in the plant for so long. What other job can you do? I mean, there was jobs I did before I got there, but you've been here for so long, and the job was hard to come by. You know, they wasn't hiring that I know anywhere. Maybe if you had some degree.
So how did it affect your family then?
Oh, it did. My wife, she was working at the Youth Opportunity Center. And money wasn't coming in as lucrative as it was, you know. And so we just had to tighten up, you know, save and be careful how we use it.
How long did that last?
For me, until 2000, I believe, 11.
Oh wow, that's a big.
That's a big gap.
Big gap.
There wasn't nobody hiring. And then the job they were hiring, we purchased a house, and during that time that I got hired in '86, that it wasn't paying that type of bill. If, you know, they were paying like every 2 weeks, you know, and the cost of living and what they were paying was $7, $9 an hour. Oh my goodness, you couldn't live off of that.
How would you say that the closing of BorgWarner affected the community?
Well, if you look at the community now, it's still affected.
And how would you say that? Why would you say that?
A disaster. You know, people almost lost their mind, quote unquote, I say, is that they didn't know what to do. You had people that was 60 years of age, 70 years of age, close to 70, still working there. And when they lost their job, you know, what could they do? You know, they had farms that they haven't yet paid off on, and they didn't know what to do. They had to sell out. And not only sell out, you found people that sold out too, to a lot of things. Maybe they went off and did things that they shouldn't have done. You know, a lot of people was dying back then, didn't know why after that, you know. And they just, you know, if they gave up or a broken heart.
Did you take any advantages of some of the opportunities they offered, or did you not have enough time in? Like, I think Frank mentioned that he went back to school.
Frank went back to school. I went back to school, but not as far as Frank did. They got us back to school, and we get together, get our reading back together, our math back together. The minor things that we can go back out into the community. You know, they helped us with a resume. You know, you just had to know someone. And I knew a lot of people. I used to work I was a clergyman, used to work for the court systems. And I used to minister in the jails before I worked at Warner Gear. I did a lot of things. I worked in 5 different stores in the Muncie Mall. I did a lot of stuff for the community. So I'm trying to go back to my resources on the people who I knew in high places. If you remember me, you know, sometimes you got to leave something of a good mark, and that is your name, you know.
Who would you say was most instrumental in helping you out with that, or some organizations?
I thank God.
Yeah.
You know, no organization. I thank prayer and, you know, seeking Him. I'm not calling it a religion, but I just call it something that's more important in my life. And I just thank God for helping me out. People wouldn't do it, you know, because a lot of times they will hire their family and friends before they hired you. So you needed that extra push.
I heard that happened a lot also at BorgWarner too. Did you see a lot of that?
Oh, I think that'll happen at any workplace. It could happen where I work at now. Not careful. But it's like that in the hospitals, every plant that I applied, anywhere, sometimes whoever does the hiring or whoever's in management, or leadership position, sometimes family or close friends come first.
Okay.
And I really sometimes doesn't have anything against it, as long as you balance it out.
Right. Of course.
As long as you balance it out. If my son is not able to do the job, I wouldn't hire him. Unless he worked for it.
So what have you been doing since you left BorgWarner? I know a little bit of it, but you can say it for the camera.
I am a custodian at the Marion Hunt Muncie Public Libraries. Have worked at all 4 libraries. And I hope I've done a good job.
We would say that you have.
And I enjoy it. I enjoy working there.
Did you do something before you came on with the Muncie Public Library system in between?
No.
Okay. Now that it has been 10 years since the factory closed, is this something that you still reflect on?
The people who I worked with. I like to see if they're still living, what they're doing. I get on Facebook and see some of them have gone and see some of them have left town, greener pastures somewhere else.
Do you see that a lot of people have left town, or is it kind of balanced, or?
Balanced. A lot of people have died. A lot of people have died.
Did a lot of the people that you know that stayed in Muncie, did they find jobs, or did they just didn't want to leave Muncie because this is where family's at? They
found jobs, but not up to their pleasure. They wasn't pleased with the job they had, but they had to do it. You see them making over $23 an hour, then you see them making $9 an hour doing something. They have a family, have a home, and some of them have 2 or 3 jobs.
Would you say that the closing still affects you?
No, it doesn't affect me. If I ride past there, it looked like a garbage heap, looked like a war zone. Something just blew it up, but it brings back memories, and those memories I don't try to remember anymore. I got to look forward for the future now.
Because you don't remember them because you want to look forward, or is it just hard to remember them?
Well, it doesn't. What's in it? You think about it, and it's all gone. You think about it, and then you come to reality. It's not there anymore. There used to be a song, "Those were the days." Those were the days.
Kind of reminds me of Camelot.
Yeah, those were the days.
Are you still in contact with those you worked with at BorgWarner? I know you kind of mentioned you see them on Facebook and such.
Very few. I see a lot of them when I work at the library, at different of the departments, different places. When I go to Marion Hunt, Kennedy, Connection Corner, and Carnegie, some of them will show their faces in the place, and we'll hug each other and talk about those days.
But other than that, you don't spend extracurricular time with them, like basketball or bowling or anything like that?
Oh no, I'm basically in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Now you have a lot of the seniors, I call seniors, that they meet every month somewhere in Muncie, but I'm not in that group.
Did you see it? You went to our BorgWarner event.
Yes.
Did you see a lot of people you knew there? Was it nice?
No, because I miss the prior ones.
Oh, okay.
See, the prior ones, I think, had more people than the latter, because when I was there, it was like maybe 10 people there, and they were older. They had at least, I don't know if some of them were there when I worked. They had at least over 40 years. I see these older gentlemen, and some of them say, "I remember your dad." They didn't remember me, but there was a few just said that they remember me, and it was just a handful of people. But just to think and look at what BorgWarner was on film, you know, I kind of almost got teary-eyed, like, oh man, you know, how I went from one stage to another. You know, I know Billy McIntosh was the last president of the union, and he didn't even serve his time out, and they shut down. I think he would have made a great president.
Seems like a nice guy. I've never met him, but just from what was up
Yeah.
there on the film.
He cared. To me, he cared. I mean, he really did. You know, in the past, a lot of them show that they cared, but when they got to position, they stopped caring. It's like he was caring when he didn't have it and when he did.
I feel like that's kind of something that we've also heard from other people too, so,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm going to switch gears and talk about BorgWarner in relation to the community. So would you say when BorgWarner here?
Oh, yeah, it was spread it out. The money was spread it out. The homes were available. It helped Muncie out a whole lot, you know. Muncie seemed to be happier when they had the plants in operation, not only just BorgWarner, but GM. It was just, it was a moving place to live.
Do you see any more differences between Muncie? Like if we look at it now and we look at it when BorgWarner was such a big presence, what are the main differences that you see?
Stores closing down. Prices going up in different areas. Buildings that were successful has now shut down. You know, see some of the mall stores change from one name to another name because another company comes in, but it's not as packed as it used to be. Grocery store is not as packed as it used to be. You know, library is not as packed as it used to be. People had places to go and things to do, and you know that because of the plants did that.
Would you say that it's gotten better or worse? Like recently even too? I mean, they're trying to build up Muncie economically, but.
Well, it's not better because the taxes are high here for a plant, some factory to come here. It's the taxes that they put on the factories, you know, the owners and stuff and such, and it has gotten worse. You know, paying the bill, you know, it has gotten worse.
Do you see any other impacts on the community because of BorgWarner's closing, especially 10 years later? It's still been 10 years.
Drinking. A lot of the workers, I think that they probably just drank more, took their cares away as such, you know, in the bottle.
What do you think about the economic future of Muncie? Where do you think we're going?
Don't know. I don't have that fortune to look that far in the future. We have to wait for something to come here. Someone such as the mayor, someone in these high places must go and scout out companies to bring them in, to bring them here to Muncie. I hear a lot of them going to different areas around Muncie, around Indianapolis, and we would like to have them here. You know, we don't want them to come and leave, but to be satisfied and stay.
What do you think Muncie has to offer?
Hardworking individuals. People who's waiting, people who hunger and thirst for work, waiting to grab hold for something for their family and for themselves.
Have you heard about the new development plans that they have for the new site, or for the BorgWarner site?
I heard a little bit that the older guy who purchased that area and had it all demolished, he died.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died. I talked with one guy who was helping demolish it. He wanted to buy some of the property, but I asked about the guy who had the property. He said that guy, he died. He died several years ago.
Well, it looks like they're going to put in another factory there called Zinc National, and it's not gonna be as big. I think they're gonna have about 90 to 200 workers, and they're gonna make this raw product from something that's really available in this area. So, just kind of based on that, what do you think about it?
I hope they hire people from Muncie and not bring in their own. You know, sometimes you bring in enough people of your own, you may say 90 people, but it might come from the people you bring. And they may come from different parts of the state, you know, to join this Muncie company. It's got a lot of cleaning to do because the ground was filthy out there. You know, with sewage and oil, you have to clear all that stuff up. Unless you want to build on top of that. A lot of oil went into their ground.
I say, when I went to the press conference, they did want to utilize the working force here, and they wanted to provide training, so that seems to be a step in the positive direction, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, if they would hire maybe somebody who worked in that area before, you know, I don't know how they would hire, you know. They might hire everyone who has a degree.
Yeah, that was kind of a concern too. I don't know.
Yeah, well, then it also won't be unionized. I'm for the union. The commercial used to say, look for the union label, because sometimes you need a union. If anything goes wrong, I mean, it doesn't have to be on your behalf. You might not even be liked. You know, you said earlier about what color I am. They might just get rid of you because of that. They might get rid of you because of your color. Any reason, you have no way of getting back. But a union will fight for you. A strong union will.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add? Any funny stories or anything that pops off your head?
No, I just appreciated what I did out there. I used to hear people talk about, because me and the supervisor was real close, and he had a cart. I used to ride on the back of the cart with him almost all the time, as if they would assume I didn't do my work. But I used to keep the area clean and do more than my work. If I'm to work 3 machines, I work 6 to get down early. You know, if I was to run 2,000 or 3,000 pieces, opinions, I ran a little bit over. And when I got done, I kept the area clean. But other than that, I appreciate what I did, you know. So, and I appreciate all the workers that were there. You know, I had a good time with everyone that I got in contact and stayed in contact with. I see some of them now when I go visit the nursing home. Some of them are there. You know, some of them have gotten healthy, you know, because, like I said, some of the departments, such as Gray Iron, was a terrible place to inhale, to breathe. You know, but other than that, BorgWarner, I have nothing bad to say about it. The union, I have nothing bad to say about it. You know, when you go to work, do your job, you really don't know what the union is doing unless you're totally involved. I really totally wasn't involved. Now, I was glad that I made shirts. They used to have a material that had property of, and I put property of Local 287. I made a lot of money on that. And I thought about going to other unions, but didn't have that much time because the plant shut down. You know, I don't have nothing to say of the memory that I had that was negative, except that it's gone.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you for your time. Yeah,
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you
it.
both.
Yeah.